What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video, and today I have a MAJESPECTER deck profile. I know I should probably wait to do this till after the ban list, but Konami seems to care more about pushing out their VIP qualifying events and reworking how tournaments work rather than the health of the game. So I'm going to do this deck profile before the possibility of Kieran getting unbanned. And we're just going to jump right on in. Because, yeah. The best part about MAJESPECTERs is no pendulum effects, so we just got to worry about monster effects. Starting us off, we got 3 copies of Bunbuku, our 1-card combo. But if you pair them with any of our other MAJESPECTER monsters in the opening hand, you get some pretty nice boards. So what does he do? Well, all MAJESPECTERs have the same effect, where they cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects, I believe. Yes, they cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So, pretty nice right there. Having a bunch of like mini towers monsters in your main deck is pretty good. And Bunbuku just adds any MAJESPECTER monster from deck to hand on summon. That's his unique effect. Next, we're on 3 copies of the new MAJESPECTER Porcupine Yamarashi. Yamarashi is a quick effect to summon itself from the hand if you control a MAJESPECTER monster, and then on summon it can set a MAJESPECTER spell or trap from your graveyard. Just recursion. That's all I can really say about it. And then one card that I originally wasn't playing at 3, but have decided to go up to 3 of, is 3 copies of MAJESPECTER Ogama. Opening any combination of Bunbuku plus these 2 other cards is a much stronger combo, but Bunbuku still nets you a fairly decent end board by himself. And what does Ogama do? Well, he sets a MAJESPECTER spell trap directly from the deck. And now we move on to probably what will cause people to be like, that's wrong for the deck profile, and it's a bunch of one-ofs. Starting us off, we have 1 Nekomata, 1 QB, 1 Yada, and then I'm also on 1 copy of Majesty Pegasus, the Draco Slayer. Yeah, Majesty Pegasus, the Draco Slayer. I'm not worried about Majesty Pegasus's pendulum effect because it never comes up. You're only ever using it for its if summoned by pendulum effect or summoned by a Draco Slayer effect, but we'll cover that in just a second. Nekomata's effect on summon lets you, during the end phase, search for a MAJESPECTER. Oh, that's a rat. But it lets you search for a MAJESPECTER. What the hell happened to my Nekomata? I'm gonna check that afterwards. But it lets you search for a MAJESPECTER monster during the end phase after it was summoned. QB, the Fox QB lets you add a trap from your deck to your hand, and Yada lets you add a spell. Then the Draco Slayer way over here adds a field spell when pendulum summoned or summoned by a Draco Slayer monster effect. It also lets you, as a quick effect, discard it from your hand in order to give all your stuff targeting immunity, which really won't come up at all, I'm going to be honest. So you're mainly using this to search for a very specific field spell that I will cover in the non-engine section. Next up, we move on to the spells and traps, because I'm not going to lie. This is the only 3 of MAJESPECTER spell we play, which is 3 copies of MAJESPECTER Wind. This is the only one we play in multiples. Wind has the effect that you can special summon a MAJESPECTER from your hand, or you can tribute a MAJESPECTER or a Wind spellcaster you control to special summon a MAJESPECTER from your deck. Really solid, helps you extend your plays. I was going to say helps you dodge cards like Infinite Impermanence and Effect Veiler, but the main deck already does that anyways. And then for the rest of the MAJESPECTER cards, I'm on 1 copy of Sonics, 1 copy of Tornado, 1 copy of Supercell, and 1 copy of Tempest. And the reason why I'm playing all of these at one is because you really only need one of them, one of each, because of Yamarashi existing, and because Supercell can put all of these back, and along with the new XYZ monster, being able to put some of your monsters back into the deck from the graveyard, really, really nice, and it lets you draw a card. So, and then Tempest is an Omni Negate, Sonics is a Battle Trick, and Tornado is a Banish on your opponent's turn. Fairly good interaction. And then now we move to the non-engine, and the field spell we are searching is one of our 3 copies of Secret Village of the Spellcaster, because if you can play this card, you're looking really good. Being able to get into Secret Village and stop your opponent from being able to activate Wanted and the other Snake Eyes, Sinful Spoils, spell cards, really good. So mandatory 3 of, but if you're not against something that relies on spell cards, you can obviously side this out. And then I'm on 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talents and 1 copy of Called by the Grave, just to stop hand traps that can interact with us, like Ash Blossom. And that's really it. I can't think of another one that interacts with the deck. I guess like Nibiru, but I would be playing Cross out in the main if our opponents were on Nib, which I know people are playing Nib, but the deck can insulate itself around Nibiru fairly easily, so I'm just playing the Called By with double triple tack. And that is it for our non-engine, which means the rest of the deck is hand traps. So let's get into this. We got 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, just because it's one of the best hand traps of all time. 3 copies of Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill, because Effect Veiler effects are really good. 3 copies of Ghost Bell, because stopping your opponent from recurring stuff out of the graveyard, again, really good. 3 copies of Effect Veiler, and to round it out, 2 copies of Nibiru. Nibiru really does kind of break boards a little bit. The 6 copies, quote unquote, 6 copies of Effect Veiler between Veiler and Mourner. Rather than playing Mourner in Imperm or Veiler in Imperm, I chose not to main deck Imperm, simply because our back row does get pretty clogged, having to have 2 Pendulum monsters in the Pendulum zones, and then most of the time having 2 or 3 set cards in the back row from our one-off MAJESPECTER Speller traps. So that is it for the main deck lineup. Now we get to the extra deck. Starting us off, we have 2 copies of MAJESPECTER Orthrus Nue. And Nue is an amazing card for the archetype, does a lot. The only unfortunate thing about it and the new Xyz monster, they don't get that targeting and destruction protection that the rest of the main deck gets, and that's understandable because Nue on summon lets you grab 2 of your MAJESPECTER monsters that are face up in your extra deck, add them back to your hand, and then put 2 from your deck face up in your into your extra deck. So he sets up your Pendulum Summon place. He also locks you into only being able to summon MAJESPECTER monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. So that's why we're also on 2 copies of MAJESPECTER Draco Ryu, because Draco Ryu is also really good. His effect is twice per turn, and what does it do? Well, if you tribute a monster, you can detach a material to summon a level 6 or lower wind spellcaster from the deck. This is obviously designed for if Kieran comes off the ban list, and I feel like they designed it that way specifically because Kieran is coming off the ban list. And if that's the case, I would cut out a copy of Nekomata for a copy of Kieran, because Nekomata is the worst card in the MAJESPECTER lineup currently. Then I'm also on 1 Magister Paladin, the Ascending Draco Slayer, and that's it for like the in-archetypal quote-unquote in-archetypal extra deck cards. For the rest of the extra deck, I'm just playing generic good stuff, like Underworld Goddess to be able to out certain things. After... So you go first, and then going second, trying to get to the OTK. I'm playing this as a way to Kaiju without Kaijuing, because the one issue this deck has is getting over big bodies. One copy of Beyond the Pendulum for if you can extend into Beyond the Pendulum without having to make MAJESPECTER Orthrus Nue, or if the game goes long and you end up not putting Nue's back into your extra deck with Supercell, which I don't know why you wouldn't put Nue back into the extra deck with Supercell. That's beside the point. One copy of Exceed the Pendulum, because a generic Pendulum support, plus you can make this just simply by using Nue and any Pendulum monster. Then one IP Masquerena, one Mech Knight Crusadia Evermax, one copy of Nightmare Unicorn, one copy of Nightmare Phoenix, one Baramet to put the Tornado back. I love Baramet, and I wish I could update my Trap Tricks deck profile, but I haven't got an updated list put together. But I would be playing Baramet in that because he puts a trap card back on the bottom of your deck from the graveyard, normal trap, puts it back on the bottom of the deck and draws you a card. So really, really good. One Dweller and one Zeus to round out the extra deck. And that is it for what is in the extra deck. So we are going to set that over there. And now for the side deck. This is where a few of my weird decisions kind of come in. And I am currently citing 3 copies of Droll and 1 copy of Nibiru, because I feel like if the Effect Veiler effects aren't working, then Droll can come in and the third Nibiru can come in, and you can kind of trim down those Effect Veiler-like effects. Like if it's a deck that doesn't hard lose to Monster Negation, then these are your next best options, because obviously if they're not losing to Monster Negation, they probably lose to the fact that they can't search, or they just have such a sticky presence of monsters that if you can get rid of the entirety of the board rather than stopping one individual effect, Nibiru comes up. Then I'm on 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, because getting rid of FKI and nuking your opponent's board is a fair play. Then I'm also citing 2 copies of Crossout and the 3rd copy of Triple Tactics Talent, just for matchups where our opponent is on Nibiru and Talents isn't enough, or if our opponent is on a deck that's not playing a lot of hand traps, we can get rid of, well, no, not side out the Called By, but if we are overdrawing our Secret Village, we can board out of a Secret Village for a triple attack, or we can board out of 2 copies of Secret Village for 2 copies of Crossout Designator. Then I'm also on 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, because like I said, signing these in after, if you win game 1 when going first, signing these in for going second, it's a little bit better, and it's obviously better than Effect Veiler in a sense that Veiler is only during the main phase. Imperm and Mourner, I believe, are multiple phases where you can activate them. So Imperm over Veiler when you're going second, but if you're going first, I would definitely be playing Veiler because, well, back row gets kind of stuffy. And then I'm on 2 copies of Evenly Matched. The one thing I can't seem to get this deck to do is OTK, so I feel like if you're going second, trying to break a board, Evenly Matched helps you have to play through less interaction. And the deck already has inherent ways to play around some of the interaction that Snake Eye and Snake Eye Fire King have, which is targeted effect negation of monsters and destruction of cards, or destruction by card effects. So giving up your battle phase in order to get rid of any on-board issues isn't the worst thing in the world for this deck. Like I said, it's not going to OTK because it doesn't have the damage output without Kieran. So, with that, I'm going to conclude this deck profile by saying this deck has potential, just not after Legacy of Destruction, even if the ban list brings Kieran back. And the only reason why I say that is simply because Kieran is not going to be enough to stop the new Dragon archetype coming out, Tenpai, because the field spell gives them immunity during the main phase. So because of that, this deck will be a sleeper for a while, but give it long enough, and I feel like MAJESPECTER will be a top contender. But you can really say that about any deck. But I really, truly believe MAJESPECTER can pull off some cool stuff. Especially right now, having the ability to get around the interaction type that Snake Eye, Fire King, and Snake Eye Pure like to do, which is, like I said, targeting and destruction based interaction. With that, I'll see everybody in the next one. Peace.